under income tax. Does that mean we forget about it, or it's something that may come back in a different form, probably under the right law?
Thank you, Sam. Let me first call you out on the previous bulletin, where you said that the eco levy was not being rendered on locally manufactured goods in the first place. If you check page 583 of the bill, that is the fourth schedule, it mentions goods subject to eco levy. And the goods subject to eco levy, as proposed in the bill, are expressly put there, and goes all the way to page 593 of the bill. The proposal here just talks about the specific items and the HS codes. So for you to say on national television that even that eco levy was not being subject to local manufactured goods in the right place is actually false. So the bill talks about...
You're saying it was for both locally manufactured and imported.
As for the phrase in the bill, and I would request you to go to the bill and check that in the definition of how this was worded in the first place, the implication of this would have been the eco levy would have been subject to both locally manufactured and imported goods. So what the Committee on Finance and National Planning has done, again, after a robust discussion with the members of the public, we said that we want to be a responsible committee that grows our manufacturing in this country by making sure, because if you check on the whole space on environmental conservation, locally manufactured products have what you call a producer pay principle. They already have an arrangement where for all the locally assembled phones, for all the locally manufactured products, there is a system where they contribute towards how those items, at the end of their life, they're going to be either reused or recycled to be restored back to the environment. But that does not exist on imported products. So we said, and the committee said, agreed with especially the manufacturer, and said, can we now change this to on only imported, not raw materials, on imported finished goods, so that we make our products in this country to be more to be more competitive in the global market. Sam, one of the Kenyans, and I think I thank the person who shared our numbers on social media last week. Of course, my phone has been ringing full stop. I have received a lot of messages on both SMS and WhatsApp. And one of them is telling me, you are telling us that eco levy is only being levied on imported diapers and sanitary towels. Do we have capacity in this country? And I would like to tell Kenyans, please, let us not hate ourselves that much. We have a lot of people in Kenya, especially manufacturers, who has the capacity. And let me read out these numbers for you. The sanitary towels and diapers manufacturers in Kenya, we have one called Saim Pharmaceuticals. We have Sunda International. We have African Custom. We have Interconsumer. We have Prompt Limited. They have a capacity of producing 1.5 billion pieces of diapers a year. Our total consumption of diapers in the country is only 800 million pieces per year. Therefore, the thinking that we do not have capacity to manufacture sanitary towels and diapers in this country is so far-fetched that there is empirical data to stop that. So what you are saying, sorry, finish. What you are saying, the capacity is 1.5 billion.
And what is the ultimate production at the moment?
The ultimate production now, without the incentive that we're now producing, is around 700 million pieces.
700 million.
But then we have, our products are competing with products from China and from India. And what that means, and I really want to emphasize this point, every time we buy a finished product in this country, we're doing two things. We're exporting that job outside this country. Number two, we are risking our foreign exchange. And that's how you saw a year or so ago, less than a year ago, our shilling went to a downfall. Because everything that we are spending, including furniture, was being imported from Turkey and from China.
Sorry, I want to hear from Chairman, but before I do, when you said that the capacity is 1.5 billion pieces per year, but currently we're producing 700 million, what would it take to double that production? Because 1.5 is more or less double of 700 million.
Sam, we just need to incentivize these manufacturers, because the manufacturers are business people. They will increase their capacity, they will increase their production if it makes business sense for them. And how does it make business for them? When you go to a supermarket to buy a sanitary towel and to buy diapers, the local consumer, the average buyer in Kenya, will check on the price. So if our locally manufactured product is more expensive than the imported one, certainly the consumer, because most of these items are elastic to are price elastic to prices, then they will pick the one that is cheaper and which is imported.
Well, sure, you don't just consider the price, you also consider the quality and the experience of the users.
Most of the time is price.
And also the users, really.
Yes, but price is priority.
I'll get back to you. Chairman Mbadi, what do you take of this concession on locally manufactured goods, but also reflecting on our capacity versus the numbers he's offering about what you're currently producing?
You see, to me, this protectionist approach is not going to be so useful for this economy. I don't think there is anywhere where protecting industries is the only way to help them compete or become competitive in the market. What we need to do is to look at why is it that goods that are being manufactured here, if at all, we have enough manufacturers, people, Kenyans who can manufacture these goods. How come they cannot compete with goods that come miles away from Kenya? It's because of our factors of production. The factors of production in Kenya is expensive. Begin with energy, which is the single most important input in any productive process or in any manufacturing process. So instead of trying to protect these industries, make sure that the costs of energy is down, is reduced, so that we are competitive enough. But this approach that we think we can cushion, we can shield our industries, is not going to work in the long run. It has failed in the sugar industry. How come we are imagining that it will succeed? Okay. Something that confuses me, because I've not, Honorable Kimani Kuria just tabled the report of the committee a couple of hours ago. What is it that you are saying with the diapers, for example? Are you telling us that you are not going to eco-levy on any diaper, whether manufactured locally or from outside? So be clear on what we are doing. Secondly, yes, you have picked diapers to exclude from those items that are being imported. That is what I hear. What of battery and dry cells, which we can't manufacture here? And yet we are moving towards, we are trying to reduce the consumption of petroleum products so that we move to electric items. And yet we are levying eco-levy on electrical items. What about the tires, the rubber tires? The list is long. Be clear. If you are removing eco-levy, remove it so that we think about it properly. Okay. On which items do we want to levy eco-levy? This knee-jerk reaction from State House is not going to help us. We need clarity. When it comes to matters of taxation, we need to be clear, we need to be simple, and it should be understood by everybody. All right. You don't have to be labor to understand what exactly the chairman of finance means. We need to understand our taxation.
Chairman, I think it's a fair question.
Wacha nijibu basi Mhasibu Mbadi kwa Kiswahili. Vile tunasema ni ya kwamba zile bidhaa ambazo zinatengenezwa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, katika mwisho wa uhai, at the end of the life of your product, it will die. And that is a fact. Whether it is a battery, whether it is a phone, whether it is anything, it will die. So tunaweka kiasi cha pesa ambacho wakati hiyo bidhaa itaisha, kutakuwa na pesa ya either kurecycle ama kureuse. Na zile ambazo ziko locally manufactured, wako na already their own arrangement. Tunaita extended producer pay principle, ambayo tayari wanachangia kuzirudisha kwa market. If you go for example kwa kampuni kama Coca-Cola, kwa zile soda ambazo na maji ya plastiki, nasema hivyo kwa sababu kama Kiringate wote inatoka from my constituency model. Wakati hizo chupa zinaisha uhai wake, wako na program ya kuzichukua kutoka kwa market, wana recycle. Lakini zile ambazo zinatoka kutoka nchi zingine, hakuna any way ama any fund ambayo ina provide wakati hii plastiki, wakati hii battery itakufa, what will happen to it? There is no that.
Okay.
So this is a principle introduction that. Now niseme Mhasibu Mbadi hapa amesema ya kwamba hatuna capacity ya kutengeneza batteries. I come from Nakuru County. Everready was a listed company at NSC producing dry cells. Ile tulikuwa tunaita ile battery ya valid. Hapa industry hii haya batteries ya chloride battery inatengenezewa hapa. In fact, we are a net exporter of batteries in our region. Lakini with time we have made bad decisions ambazo zimefanya our products kama Kenya zinakosa kuwa marketable kwa our market. Na ukumbuke ya kwamba Kenya iko na mention 3 treaties.
Right.
Kuna EAC, kuna COMESA na kuna African Trade Area. Ni kumaanisha ya kwamba zile vitu ambazo zinatoka Uganda, zinakuja Kenya, zinakuja without any import duty. Zile ambazo zinatoka Tanzania, the same. Kwa hivyo tunasema sisi kama regional hub, kwa sababu we don't operate in a vacuum, lazima tufanye bidhaa zetu ambazo zinatengenezwa hapa katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. So zikuwe more competitive, right, not just for Kenya, but also for the regional market.
You have said that, but what if they impose an eco levy for imports on neighboring countries?
Well, if they impose?
They impose an eco levy on imports coming from Kenya for their own markets.
Sasa hiyo watakuwa wanajisaidia wao.
Okay.
Na ndio tunasema basi kama watajisaidia wao, lazima sisi tujipange, tujisaidia wenyewe, kwa sababu lazima tujipende sisi kama Wakenya kwanza.
Yeah.
So that is where I have a problem, Sam. What is the policy objective of this decision? You know, this is the problem I have with Kenya Kwanza. They come up with a policy and they are not sure what exactly they want to cure. If eco levy is about environment, let it remain the policy's environment. But if we want to protect our local industries, let us be clear that the decision we are taking is to protect local industries.
Okay.
If we kill two birds with one
this
stone.
idea of just jumping onto it can help this. That is the same problem we had with the housing levy.
Right.
We don't know whether that was meant to provide houses for people who don't have houses, or was it meant for creation of job opportunities. So today you are told it is this, tomorrow you are told this is the objective. Let us be clear. Kenya Kwanza, please, let us be clear on what the objective of every proposal.
Sam,
just hold on so that I rephrase this question. You're saying that eco levy will be used to protect the environment.
Yes.
With the revision that you have now proposed, what happens? Because we had heard of a figure of 10 billion shillings was the target. How about now?
So the initial figure for eco levy on both locally manufactured and imported products was that 10 billion. So the simulation around that, it means that we are likely to have a revenue gap of around 5 billion shillings.
Okay.
And that's why we are saying the various losses that we might make, and this is not just this one, because remember, all these are proposals. They have not been passed yet. So that will essentially mean, and that's what I was trying to explain to you earlier, Sam, that even as we speak, we have members of parliament that have already drafted amendments on particular clauses.
Okay.
And you've seen that happening at the House, where members are able to convince the House to drop this amendment or that. Every amendment has a financial implication.
Right.
And that is why the passing of the finance, of the budget now, will be after the finance bill. But on the other matter, on manufacturing,
I don't want to move away from eco levy first. When you collect 5 billion shillings, how will you use it?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. The other thing that the Committee of Finance and National Planning has done is to align the policy with the law. Under ECMA, under Environmental Conservation Act, there is a fund called Restoration Fund. The Restoration Fund, how it's being used now, let me give an example. If you're given a license to do a quarry, and you come and dig up a quarry, you have to make a deposit so that after you dig all the stones, all the minerals, there must be a fund that is put particularly for that purpose, so that once you finish with the taking out your minerals, there is money to restore that place back to where it was before, either maybe by doing a dam or by backfilling. And that is already working. So we are saying that this fund now will be put under the restoration fund to ensure that all those products now that are coming into the country, there is money that will be available for them to be reused or recycled at the end of their useful life.
That takes effect immediately.
Yes. So the amendment that our committee has proposed is to actually make this collectible, is to take these funds into the restoration fund, which is already provided for in the law. On the other question that Honorable Mbadi said, that we don't seem to be concerned on what we want. Let me give an example. When you promote local manufacturing, we will not just be consuming our locally manufactured products. We will create jobs.
Okay.
We will, those companies will pay taxes. In addition to that, we will forego the amount of money that we are sending to other countries as forex exchange. And therefore, we grow the strength of our shilling. But most importantly, Sam, if something is being manufactured here at Industrial, it is possible to go and check on the quality and the safety of that product. When a product is being manufactured in China, it is very difficult to ascertain accurately the safety and especially the safety and the quality of that particular product, because you're just going to rely on those terms that are going to be there.
Right.
So what we have seen Kenya becoming a dumping site for some of these products, where once now the Ministry of Industrialization goes and ascertains that a particular manufacturer in China is manufacturing correctly, they don't have the capacity to check every product that comes. But if that product is being manufactured in Molo, in Nyandarua, in Nyeri, in Mombasa, our quality checking agencies can pop up there anytime and check, is this quality correct? Okay. Is this safe for Kenyans? All
right. There's a question I had asked you about the motor vehicle tax, because you're saying that it doesn't fall under income. It's not an income, it's an asset. And I asked you the question, is it that you're now forgetting about the motor vehicle tax in totality, or it's something that may crop up somewhere just under the right law?
Let me remind you, Sam, what I told you last time. I'm the chair of the Finance and National Planning Committee. The proposals that come to the National Assembly originate from National Treasury.
Right.
And Parliament makes its independent decision based on those proposals under provisions of law. For example, public participation. And in the event, and I want these Kenyans to understand this, in the event that any of the provisions of the law is not followed, we have seen where those pieces of law or particular sections of that law have been thrown out by the judiciary, because we have a very robust judiciary. As I speak, from where I sit, once we looked at this motor vehicle tax, we asked, where is it being introduced? It was amending the Income Tax Act. Section 33 of the Income Tax Act defines what income is. And it means that income is any money generated into the country. So it was not, we were not able to see how a motor vehicle is an income. And unless, so as the current proposed, the motor vehicle tax cannot
stand
be a tax on income, because there is no way of taxing motor vehicles under the Income Tax Act. Some of the derivations came from the public.
Can it come back?
That will be up to National Treasury. One of the things that came up from public participation, and I'd like this to be clear, was, so what if you exempt private vehicles and you levy that on commercial vehicles? But then commercial vehicles are generating income and they're paying a tax on their income. Then on private vehicles, then if it would have been a wealth tax, then it needs to fall under a proper law on wealth tax, like the way we do on, say, stamp duty under the Stamp Duty Act, or capital gains tax under the Capital Gains Tax Act. But as long as it sits under the Income Tax Act, there was no way motor vehicle tax would have been an income under Income Tax Act.
What do you think? Is that it? Are we done with the motor vehicle taxes introduction?
And some, that is the confusion which is in Kenya Kwanza. Confusion, disconnect. No one seems to be understanding even a policy proposal that has even been brought to the National Assembly. We are here with the chairman, Finance and Planning Committee, who has not, like any other Kenyan, understood why this tax was introduced. And by the way, he's not alone. You go to the Treasury itself, you will find officers of the Treasury, the so-called mandarins, don't even understand where this motor vehicle tax came from. What was the rationale behind it? What kind of a tax was it? Will it be brought again? I don't know, because you can't predict Kenya Kwanza. It is a government, as I put it before, which behaves like pickpockets. They can come for your money anytime they wish. Now, if nobody understands this motor vehicle tax, who on earth thought about it? Where was it sitting? Is it one of the advisors at State House? The economic advisors led by Ndi? Who came up with this tax? That is the question. Before I leave the ECO, I'm still going to ECO levy.
Okay.
ECO levy, today listen to Kimani. He's saying that the Finance and Planning Committee has even suggested and proposed that this now be taken to a fund. The way it was brought to the National Assembly was, it was like a taxation. It is going to the consolidated fund to be used like any other tax revenue. So why is it that Treasury, which is consisting of professionals of high caliber in this country, economists, finance experts, accountants, name it, all the technocrats, can bring a proposal to the National Assembly to levy or to put a levy, which we are not sure as a country is supposed to be normal taxation, or it is a specific fund for a specific duty. And that is why Kenyans were asking, are you levying this ECO levy to be put to help restore, to help correct the environmental impact of these items, goods and goods which are imported or manufactured? So, in a nutshell, Sam, let Kenya Kwanza be clear on what they want to do.
Okay.
There is no clarity. There is too much confusion. Right. It's like we don't have professionals working for Kenya Kwanza.
Give me a quick right of reply.
Please do so.
CPA Mbadi and I served the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the last Parliament. And he is aware that even in the last government, we would receive proposals from National Treasury and from the Executive. And what we would do as a Budget and Appropriations Committee, unless he's telling us even then, the National Treasury or the handshake government then have the same incompetence as we have now. The budget that we used to produce after public participation, when I served with him in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, was different. It means that we can have a good idea, give birth to a better idea, and the better idea give birth to the best idea. Otherwise, if CPA Mbadi wants us then to either pass things as they come from the Executive, then there is no need for Parliament. But as long as a document that comes from the Executive is well subjected to debate, to scrutiny, and we come up with a much better proposal than there was in the first place, that is the wisdom of our Constitution.
But Sam, my problem is not about scrutiny and making changes. My problem is, Honorable Kimani is the chairman of Finance and Planning Committee, which the finance bill has gone through public participation. Treasury has even appeared before his committee. And up to today, unless I heard you wrongly, you still don't know where this motor vehicle tax came from. At least that is what I heard from you.
That's not what I said.
Where did it come from? Because you have told us here that you are also wondering what kind of tax was it? Was it an income tax? Or what is a wealth tax? You are the one who has been belaboring and trying to understand. Up to now, you are still trying to understand where this tax came from. So who came up with it? That is the problem I have.
That tax itself?
Yes. Let me use this in a different example. There was a proposal to have on data. Let me give two other examples.
No.
Yes.
You don't want a right of reply on what he said?
I want to answer
him
with an example.
Okay.
We have, for example, the digital marketplace tax.
Yes.
And have the tax on significant economic presence. Those two proposals they came from National Treasury. We engaged professionals globally. In fact, during this year's public participation, we had one judge, I forget his second name, from London, coming to give us his views on best practice. And therefore, after engaging on all this best practice, that is when we come up with this decision. So even after, the reason why we continuously have, the reason why we have Parliament as a as a law-making house,
right,
is because we continuously improve on our laws. So right now, before I left the House to come, there was a bill on children protection bill. So the reason why we have the institution of Parliament is continuously improve on law-making process. So that law-making is a process, including what comes from the executive, what comes from the National Assembly, and even better, even after some laws have been passed by the National Assembly and they've been challenged at the judiciary has actually recommended and said, we understand what you're doing to do here, but you can do that better.
All right.
And this.
Let me just ask, because you defended the independence of Parliament, so the statement you read at State House, is that the product of the Finance and Planning Committee or Kenya Kwanza Parliamentary Group?
Sam, we have two lines of the budget. We have the revenue side and have the expenditure side. What we tried to do today, and I'm very happy that our parliamentary group was able to agree with us, because we don't also want to do an exercise in futility. And the leadership of this country, the president and the deputy president, were able to agree with us, was saying, look, this is what this was said, this is what the public said, this is what we recommend. And we were able to communicate that even more effectively than you would have had as a committee. You check. If you now check.
That is done after the committee?
No, after the committee did its work. We completed our retreat in Naivasha on Sunday.
Yes.
We agreed on our recommendations.
Right.
We finished our report, and we said we are going to table that report on today, which we did this afternoon, because we couldn't table it yesterday, because yesterday was a public holiday. And as the same way that the Azimio coalition has a PG, I think, tomorrow, was the same thing that there was a PG. You had it today. So the same way the Azimio had their PG today, where members of the Azimio coalition in my committee attended, and the same way we attended, and we just choose that.
The only question is...
That was a committee report.
It was a committee report.
Yes.
So where does it get connected with State House or the parliamentary group?
So let me ask you, Azimio have been sent letters to reject the finance bill and to do all those things. So why do they need to go to the Azimio PG group?
I'll ask
it
you,
means,
give me your answer.
We operate as a team, and there is teamwork, where, again, there is the revenue side of budget, and there is what should be expended about. Our PG was, even if we table that, if yesterday was not a public holiday, like what happened last year, I tabled the reports at the floor of the House, and the following day, there was a PG. It just happened that with the candidates this year, yesterday was a public holiday, and so the tabling could only have happened today, and the PG was today, and use that opportunity to explain to the other legislators what the committee has decided.
The processes of legislation in Parliament, and we are starting at what just happened this afternoon at exactly 5:19 p.m. The chairperson, who is here with us in studio, tabled the report on the bill, and this is according to the processes of enacting laws in the House. So after that, what should happen is that the second reading should happen, and second reading essentially is debate of the House on that particular bill, but also considering the committee report, and that should happen between tomorrow and Thursday afternoon. After that, what will happen? There will be a vote on Thursday afternoon. There will be a vote on Thursday afternoon, which is the 19th of June, for the bill to proceed to the next stage And that next stage should now be, there is. That next stage should be the Committee of the Whole House. According to the Speaker of the National Assembly, that should be Tuesday next week, when all amendments should be heard. That is, amendments proposed by the Committee of Parliament, but also private members of Parliament. After that, then the House will take a vote on each of the clauses, and after everything is done, it is taken to the third reading and a final vote on the bill, so that then it can be transmitted to the President for assenting, and all that has to happen before the end of the year. I look at that order of events, and I do not see anywhere about the intervention of a parliamentary group or State House. But Honourable Mbadi, you're the veteran here. Yes, sorry, I'll get to you, Honourable Chair.
No, for me, there is really nothing wrong with the parliamentary groups meeting. It happens in every democracy. That parliamentary groups would sit and take a position, especially on major issues. One of them is the budget. You know, the budget process is one of the most critical legislative process that any house would go through. My problem would be twofold. One is not a major one, but it is also a concern whether we should have or hold parliamentary group meetings at State House, which is actually the seat of power for all of us. But if I was Honorable Kuria Kimani, I would have allowed the parliamentary group secretary of Kenya Kwanza to read the resolution of Kenya Kwanza, but save and protect himself as the chair of Finance and Planning Committee, who is actually the chair of a House committee. He is not chair of a committee of Kenya Kwanza. He is the chair of committee of the whole House. If, for example, I would be taking park reports to Capitol Hill or to Raila's home, or even Stephen Kalonzo's center, discuss it there and read Public Accounts Committee report, and then now come and table it in the House, it is wrong. We are compromising the integrity and independence of a House of Parliament. So, Honorable Kuria Kimani, you should have protected your position. You are the chair, you are my chair, you are the chair of all members when it comes to matters finance and planning. So when I saw you reading resolution, your committee report basically, which I don't know what has happened without standing orders. You are not supposed to discuss a committee report or make it public unless on the floor of the House. Okay. You are supposed to first table the report.
Yep.
But you would have allowed the parliamentary group of Kenya Kwanza to make their proposals. Say, we have discussed as a parliamentary group and we are urging the Finance and Planning Committee, even if you know that they have already made the decision, to do 1, 2, 3. But they were trying to hijack decision which even our members had participated in Naivasha, of proposing these amendments and making it appear like it is now a Kenya Kwanza amendments. No. It is wrong.
You know,
it is not procedural.
Sam, my senior colleague here in the profession is saying one thing from one mouth and saying another on the other. He was in the PG meeting for Azimio. Our members of our committee were in that Azimio meeting. And one of the discussions that was made in that meeting was what the Committee of Finance and National Planning were recommending as the amendment. And that press briefing that we issued at around midday, and our meeting started at 7:30. So the meeting that started at 7:30 had a lot of deliberations. And the only thing I did, we cannot be discussing here about what needs to be removed, and I know that we have deliberated on those things. So I was simply updating our side of coalition on what the committee has done and considered. And you've seen, let me even give an example. You called me here for interviews and said, this is what the proposals are. When I was speaking here, I was not speaking at the floor of the House. I was saying, these are the proposals that have been made by National Treasury.
Right.
And I actually even said, this is the views. I have actually come on this one and said, we are receiving varied views when we're doing public participation, at the end of every day, we'll do a press and say, these are the views of the public we are receiving.
Okay.
And in terms of procedure, that report was tabled procedurally at the floor of the House. So if the PG was tomorrow, we would have still informed the PG tomorrow.
Okay.
But then because of the constitutional deadlines involved, that's why the report was tabled today. If yesterday was a public holiday, most likely it would have been done yesterday or tomorrow.
I hear you.
So the times is neither here nor there.
Honorable Mbadi, I'll get to you. But first, Chairman, just tell me, how was that meeting at State House? What was the mood?
What was the mood?
Yeah.
The Kenya Kwanza administration, over time, has been a consultative administration. And every time that the coalition has had to make a decision on a matter, unlike the previous administration, it has been an issue of debate. And where, like even after the decisions were made, there was a question and answer question. So someone says, yeah, so what is happening? And that's why you would see our chair of UDA party, Honorable Cecily Mbarire, saying even some things that were not necessarily, saying that we have a responsibility on the hustlers, and people will be judged as a government on what we achieve by 2027, on the people that we promised. That is the nature of the robust conversations that Kenya Kwanza PG goes. It's not a lecture moment. It is a conversation, discussion moment where people give their ideas. But the good thing with these deliberations is that when I got a chance to inform our PG on some of the recommendations we're making to the House, and I don't think there is any reason for alarm. Because once the report now is tabled, tomorrow we start a debate.
All right.
It goes tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Yeah.
It goes on Wednesday. Then members of Parliament are going to recommend amendments. We are going to have a win-win process on Monday on those amendments. The voting will be done on Wednesday and Thursday next week. So everyone has a chance to change their mind if they want.
That's fine. My question was simply on the mood of the meeting, but it's fine. I hear your answer. Yes.
I don't know whether my colleague here, my friend Kimani, had understood me. I'm not condemning your briefing of the parliamentary group of Kenya Kwanza. I'm not condemning you for attending. You are a member of Kenya Kwanza. You are a member of the parliamentary group. So am I, a member of Azimio. And by the way, we discussed your report. But what I'm against is, you have said it here, that statement you issued at State House, what was it? Was that the report of the committee? And you said yes. I hope I didn't. Sam, is it not true that he said that that was the report of the Finance and Planning Committee? You are not allowed to release the report of a committee in a parliamentary group meeting. I am trying to advise you, Honorable Kimani, that what should have happened was the parliamentary group of Kenya Kwanza should have come out to tell Kenyans that this is the position we have taken. After lengthy deliberation, we are urging our MPs now to align to that. Then you come and table the report in the House, then you can now debate it. In fact, even coming here to debate report of your committee before it is out is wrong. You can only say that we have received proposals from various stakeholders, we are considering them as a committee, and we will do a report, table it on the floor, and then now it can be debated.
I want us to make progress because our time is ending.
The only difference is, and you and I have had this extensive conversation.
Yes.
Because since the last time I was here, I told you, Sam, I'm not able to come and explain this to Kenyans because at this time I'm like a judge. And now the reason why I'm able to discuss the details of the report is because it's already a property of the House. So the views
what did you do at State House?
Those are just 3 or 4 things. It's a whole 1,000-page report.
Correct and say that what you read at State House was not the report of the committee.
So if that makes you happy, then...
No, it's not about making me happy. I'm about the procedure of Parliament.
The
procedure of Parliament is that if you are chair of a committee, you first table the report in the House. Like I was just asking you, how would you take it if I start as chair of Public Accounts Committee, the report of my committee, I start discussing at Capitol Hill or discussing it at Raila's home in a PG? What would happen is that people would condemn that and term it Mbadi's report. So please table the reports to the House. Now you are at liberty to discuss it anywhere, even in funerals.
That's fine. But CPA, you're one of the reasons why we have all this misinformation about this bill. Our report is 4 volumes long, more than 1,000 pages. What we said at State House were like 10 things. And you'll see at the Committee of the Whole House, and I want Kenyans to really note this, at the Committee of the Whole House on Wednesday and Thursday next week, we will most likely finish those amendments past midnight because there are more than 100 amendments. So that 1 or 2 things were said, even when some of those decisions had already been in discussion in the public domain. Really, it is unfair to call that unprocedural. But anyway, let's make progress.
All right, let's make progress because
some
it's okay.
Some Kimani has just refused to understand me.
Right,
what I am saying, please first table the report to the House. Let it be owned, then you can discuss it. Your discussion at State House publicly was wrong.
All right. You can't agree on that, but the statement that you read also talks about the fuel levy or road maintenance levy, and you're saying that 18 shillings for so long will not be sufficient to maintain the roads, and you're proposing reviewing that. What are you proposing it to be? Because Chairman Mbadi said that you're proposing to raise it by 9 shillings.
First of all, the amendment to increase fuel levy, you need to amend a regulation, not a law. And therefore, amendment to a regulation cannot be done through a finance act. And when the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport appeared before our committee, we said, fine, we hear you. The argument is we have not had that we have had a global decrease in fuel prices. Those monies go to 22% and 10% to maintain our constituency roads, but there are some orphan roads, especially the low-volume roads, that have not been maintained. But now the amendment to the RMLF, that change of RMLF is a completely different legal procedure that includes gazettement of changing prices, because the RMLF comes through a regulation. It's not through. So you cannot amend that through an act of parliament. So you will not hear me next week proposing an amendment to the finance bill to increase RMLF to this, from this to the other. So those were just...
But was there any discussion on what it should be or not?
There was a public... 2 weeks ago during public participation, towards the tail end, the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, not National Treasury, for Transport, the Honorable Senator Murkomen, came before the committee and said, this is one of the issues that we'll be proposing. But then he will have had to do public participation under the State Department of Transport and then gazette the change in prices. So the change of prices of fuel cannot be done through the finance bill.
Okay, what's your take?
My take is that this is something they have discussed and have actually agreed. But that's the way forward. And actually they are trying to bribe members of parliament by telling members that, look, what we are going to do currently, you are getting about 62 for your constituencies. We are going to move that upwards to 76 million per constituency. So the effort here is to make sure that MPs buy that and swallow it. But it's going to hurt Kenyans. And we have spoken to our MPs and our MPs in our PG today. And we have told our MPs that please don't buy this idea. It's wrong. The moment you increase the prices of fuel, you know, he's telling you that prices are going down. Prices of petroleum products are cyclical. They come down, go up, come down, go up. So it is not something that is guaranteed. And the moment you put that 9 shillings more per litre loaded onto the price of fuel, you will not take it away.
Chairman,
yeah?
Where did you get the figure of 9?
But that's what they discussed. Has he refused? Has he refuted it?
Because
you know, we get this information. That's what they discussed initially. Initially it was 7.
Yeah.
As a committee they discussed and they talked about 9. Let him deny that they have agreed on a figure of 9.
It's an agreement, Chairman.
CPA Bandi wants to coerce me to agree on something that...
is that not correct?
The conversation...
just say no, yes. Is it true or false?
Let him answer.
The conversation here is...
Let him answer.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. What the Cabinet Secretary and explain, maybe let me try again. the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, in his submission to the Committee of Finance and National Planning, recommended that one of the things that he feels that I don't need to be made is how to maintain the raw seal. The raw volume seal roads. And one of them was now changing the RMLF, because that has not been increased for a very long time. And you can check the Hansard for that. However, in fact, in my response, I said, no, but that amendment cannot be done on the Finance Act, because that is an amendment on regulations.
Okay.
So he will have to do, so the Ministry of Transport will have to do that on the regulations. But it is also something that came from public participation that said, now, if you are purporting then that if you want to add a motor tax because motor vehicles have an influence on the environment, then that should not be on the asset, the motor vehicle.
All right.
Because that will mean like a diesel car or a 5,000cc car would attract almost a similar rate to a 1,200cc car or to an electric vehicle. And then once the committee informed that, fine, this is a healthy conversation, but it cannot be on the finance bill, we stopped it at that.
All right.
And then the ministry, I know, will make the best decision. And I know, and again, this is the beauty of democracy, because that decision, again, will have to come to the
So there's
floor of
no
the House.
position taken by the Finance and Planning Committee on what should happen to RMLF?
So far, there's no position taken on RMLF.
All right. That's fine. So, Chairman, you said that you will be losing 60 billion shillings, and if we look at what you are hoping to, National Treasury was hoping to collect from motor vehicle taxes, it was 58 billion shillings. You have said that Eco-Levy is losing 5 billion shillings. I don't know what the VAT on bread was supposed to be. It doesn't tally with your 60 billion.
Yes, I agree. The position that we are now in agreement with National Treasury is the process of budget making is a continuous engagement. So even after my tabling this report today and the debate starting tomorrow, so far I've seen 10 amendments proposed by members. And maybe one member could convince the House to carry over the amendment. That amendment will have a financial implication on expected revenue collection. And therefore, the decision that the leadership of the House has taken, let us then pass the finance bill as amended first, then calculate what the yield is, and where the yield is less, and then now we'll know in absolute figures how much the yield is, then there can be an adjustment on the appropriations bill.
Yep.
In essence, decreasing reducing the budget. I'll give an example of last year.
That is before you pass the appropriations bill?
Yes, so the decision on what the appropriations bill will going to be is that once we see what the revenue gap is on the finance bill, after it has been passed through the Committee of the Whole, would now be to engage the Budget Committee and see areas of budget cuts that would commensurate with the revenue gaps that would have been raised in the approved finance bill.
What do you think will be the impact on the expenditure itself? Because just last week, the Cabinet Secretary presented a 3.99 trillion shilling budget. And now with all these changes to what should be in the finance bill, what do we do with that difference?
Obviously, there will be a hole, a very serious hole in our budget if we maintain the levels of expenditure as they were passed by the National Assembly. I have a problem with amending the appropriations bill because, you see, if you look at the Constitution, Article 221, it clearly says that once the budget, it starts with the process of tabling the budget estimates. A committee of the House will collect the views of Kenyans, which views then, that is the Budget and Appropriation Committee, which views then would be consolidated and then presented to the House, and then the House passes. And then it says, once the estimates are passed by Parliament, then they shall be converted into appropriations bill. Now, the moment you start amending the appropriation bill without going back to the estimates which we passed,
yes,
is it in line now with the estimates? So there is a constitutional problem there. But that notwithstanding, either we will have to deal with the appropriations bill, or then we will increase the debt level, which is standing at 597 now, which both of them have consequences. But the other thing that we are not exploring is, can't we collect this revenue? And by the way, the revenue, I also agree with you, it can't be 60 billion. It is much more, Mheshimiwa. I quickly did my calculation and I was ending with 76 billion. Can't we collect more revenue with the current tax regime, with the current tax rates and tax policies? Some, and I want to tell my colleague here, if you look at the effect of the 2023 Finance Act on our revenue collection, it led to a slowed growth in revenue collection. If you look at the revenue collection increase in the previous year before the Finance Act of 2023, the revenue was growing at 14.5. But this last financial year, it has grown consistently with about 13.8%, meaning the harmful effects of the Finance Act of 2023 crept in. What we need to do is to enhance tax administration. There is a problem with our tax administration. We can collect much more money with the current rates without even varying any rate. We don't even have to come up with finance bills every year. In fact, I hear people say that now if we defeat this bill, then we will not have. There is nothing like that. If this bill is not passed, we still have the Act of 2023. In fact, finance bill is usually like an amendment bill. It is amending already existing rates. Okay. If you don't amend them, they remain. So we could still retain the same rates with the discipline and fixing the system. We can still collect much more. This 76 billion, even if it is 100 billion, we could still collect. But because of our indiscipline, we always think the only solution, the only answer to collecting more revenue is varying the tax rates, coming up with crazy tax proposals like the motor vehicle tax, which no one understands, including people who work at the Treasury, including KRA. The other time we were here, and you were one of you were in one of the panels, and you saw a deputy commissioner of KRA struggling even to explain what this motor vehicle tax is. So that is the problem we have with Kenya Kwanza. Let policymakers understand their policies.
All right. And I want us to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Chairman John Mbadi of the Public Accounts Committee, Chairman Kuria Kimani of the Finance and Planning Committee at the National Assembly, and of course the debate